AMD, AM5 and AM4 platforms dominate Intel by a huge margin in Germany, but Intel motherboard sales refuse to grow. AMD, AM5 and AM4 motherboard sales soared in Germany. This is one of the biggest growths AMD has ever seen in a retail store, and even though it's seasonal, it didn't affect Intel motherboard sales a bit. AMD sold roughly 5,000 motherboards in the last week on Mine Factory, compared to just 555 units by Intel. With all the platforms combined, the dominance of AMD continues, but it's not just because of its superb Zen hardware, but also because of the lack of enough competition from Intel. AMD is rapidly increasing its CPU share worldwide, and that has a direct impact on its motherboard sales as well. AMD's AM4 and AM5 motherboards are selling like hotcakes, and the gap between AMD and Intel motherboard sales in most parts of the world is apparent. However, in Germany, the gap has gotten too big, to the point that AMD is now seeing almost 10x more sales than Intel motherboards. The latest sales statistics from Mine Factory, via AdTech Affiliate, which is one of the biggest retail stores in Germany, show that AMD has managed to reach almost 3,500 units with AM5 motherboards. Similarly, AM4 motherboard sales have increased drastically in the last week, exceeding the 1,500 units mark. Now compare this to the Intel motherboard sales, which, even though it touched the 500 unit mark with one of its platforms, it's not LG A1851. It's the LG A1700 for Alder/Raptor/Raptor Lake Refresh CPUs, and, on the second spot, sits the LG A1200 platform with just 30 units. Unfortunately, the LG A1851 managed to sell just 25 units in a whole week. All the Intel motherboard sales combined don't even reach 1,000, let alone compete with either of the AMD platforms. The result is clear: AMD is now sitting at around 90% of the total motherboard share, with a revenue of €8,36,231, while Intel is just at €93,299. Both the shipped units and revenue share are 90 hours 10 minutes, and even the average selling price for both is exactly equal at €168. Intel is failing miserably, but even though this is great for AMD and AMD platform owners, the PC market needs adequate competition, just as we want Intel to go against AMD and Nvidia's discrete GPUs. Hopefully, with the next generation, Intel can manage to make a solid comeback to ensure the pricing remains competitive in the market.